And this is KC9VKV and Qso with N9GTO, and Lou is now operating his Queen of the Nile. Lou, come on back in here.
Yeah, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The limiter, what do you call that? The speech device, that, what do you call it, downward expander? I have no downward expander whatsoever, so I'll eventually put one in line. But right now I'm not running any downward expander, so that would eliminate any of that other issues. But boy, she sure is doing what she's supposed to do. As far as, you'll have to see this in person, because it's really doing what it's supposed to do. It's beautiful. N9GTO, back to you, Jim.
Oh, roger that. Well, we do intend to get over there with our trusty camera. We're still getting checked out on it. Yesterday I found out where the on button for the camera is, so that's half of it. The other half is finding the auto switch. And when you turn it on and hit auto, it's amazing. It does its thing there. But anyway, so we will come over and actually shoot video of the Queen of the Nile. But in between now and then, why don't you describe what it is?
Well, it was a broadcast transmitter, basically disassembled and reassembled as a AM transmitter for 40, 80, and 160. K9VKV was the builder, developer, engineered it the whole 9 yards, and then it's a pair of 4-400s modulating a single 4-1000. It's about 3,200 volts on the plate. It's got more iron than the law allows. Probably weighs around the neighborhood of 1,200 pounds. It's in a 7-foot Mid-Atlantic rack cabinet, and has a back door on it with all the safeties, everything known to man that you would normally find in the industry. And as you'll have on the video, all the tubes are all viewable through the glass windows and so forth and so on. And you can look at the thing wrong or get it out of tune or anything. It'll automatically, there's overload resets on everything, modulator, finals, everything known to man. So it's all there. And Borgie has built a number of these. I'm not sure what serial number this one is, but I'll have to find out. But Borgie's his latest creation is a pair of 304TLs modulating a 833. So I've got pictures of that as well. We may show that at the end of the thing, and several other ones, just to name a few. But like I said, again, I'm not sure exactly the serial number of who, what, when, and where. But modulating wise, it is doing quite well, as I see here. Scope, it's showing beautiful waveform. Everything is doing quite well. KC9VKV and 9GTO, back to you, sir.
Roger, roger, and we are on the 3872 frequency in the AM mode, and LOU-N9GTO is operating his new Queen of the Nile, and it's really a spectacular device. Now, in our earlier QSO, about the second day that that transmitter had been built in his Radio Shack, there were quite a few power offs due to fusing situation, tripping some of those circuit breakers for protection. And I notice now that there are no trips, and so I'm assuming that you've got your limiter all set up in there, Roger?
That is correct, yeah. That's correct, yeah. There's various overloads that protects the transmitter from me. It's protecting it from me. So you name it, it's protected. It draws too much current on the AC lines, draws too much current on the modulator, the finals, grid, you name it, it goes, it trips, and it just takes me off the air for a second. I press the reset button. Just basically, you're putting too much trash out there, like audio-wise. If you're not negative peaks, you start exceeding 98% negative peaks, it'll trip real quick. You name it, it does it. So he's pretty well. It's a self-contained unit. There's nothing outside of this unit other than a microphone. It does it all. I'm using the microphone plugged into it. It has its own TR sequential relay. It has all the different lights that come on the air and sequences the receiver antenna system, mutes it, does it all. No worry about RF getting back into the other systems and everything. So it is it's a piece, and again it covers 40, 80, and 160. My goal is to have at least one more of his builds sitting beside this one, so that I can cover at least 160, and then maybe have the smaller desktop units for 40 meters. So, but that's what I'm looking for down the road. So, just waiting to get a phone call saying, "Hey, there's a spare unit here. Come and pick it up." So, I don't know if it'll happen, but these things they're kind of like his grandkids. When he builds one, he has to see it off just right. So he comes and puts it all together for you right there. You know, it's completely installed. And of course, he plays Patsy Cline for several hours on a dummy load to make sure it's bulletproof and exceeds all of his expectations. So when he got here, the problem we had here was more than anything was we had a defective antenna system. And now that we got the antenna capable of handling this type of design, then there's no problems at all. KC9VKV and 9GTO.
Roger, Roger, and that Patsy Cline record that he plays for 24 hours in a test mode is her recording of I Fall to Pieces. So hopefully it's not apropos. It's just a kind of an inside joke there. But I remember as a young man, my first radio station I worked at when I was 16, you know, we're talking about circuit breakers. We found out that this was a daytime station that signed off, you know, around 6 or 7 o'clock. And we did find out that to sign the transmitter off, all we had to do was blow in the microphone, and that low frequency would trip the circuit breaker and dump the transmitter off the air. So we would have verbiage about signing off, and then we would just go and the transmitter would bid adieu. Roger, Roger.
It's the same thing happens here, Jim. If it gets the wrong frequency response, such as that, it will definitely just stop the B+. All the filament stuff is sitting there idling. Everything, it just basically lifts the B+ off of everything. Says, "Oh, I'm in standby now because you've done something that you offended me, and therefore I'm not going to produce any more quality sound." And you'll have to press one of these you'll have to have one of the engineers press one of these overload resets, which mine are in the front, and they do light up in the event that they are tripped. So you know what tripped, how it tripped, and why it tripped by looking at both the grid voltage, the mod cathode current, and the PA current, and the high voltage as well. There's no sag and nothing. None of the, I mean, the amazingest thing of it all is you talking about steady business. I mean, there is no sag whatsoever. This thing's just sitting here just humming right along, and it doesn't even know it's on. KC9VKV and 9GTO.
Roger, Roger. Now, if you could, you know, we don't have videos, so I'm going to rely on you just to describe the physical attributes as you look at the Queen of the Nile transmitter there. Kind of do a word description of it. You know, what it looks like, the cutouts for the, you know, looking at the tubes and all this stuff.
Well, from the top going down, you're looking at the PA section, which is the upper deck. You have the high voltage, the mod cathode current meter, and the PA current meter all there. Like I said, you can sit in a chair and see everything. And then you have the plate load and plate tune and the inductance on the roller inductor. You have the grid coupling system here to the left. You have your overload reset for the PA. And then you have your grid voltage. And then you have the filament light telling your filaments are on, and then you have grid tuned. Then below that is a pair of 4-400s with both bias controls for each tube. So therefore you can control each tube for the amount of bias that you want. You take one tube, figure out the amount of bias you want, then you go to the next tube, turn it over, and then you add the other. Say if you got 60 something on one, 60 on the other, or whatever the number you're looking for, then you got 120 of, you know, mils of whatever, or whatever the number is supposed to be. And I have a manual as well that'll go all the way through it. As well as then below that you have the what is called the exciter, and it is a heat kit. I believe it is a. Let me look here. It is a DX40 heat kit that had been modified with a digital VFO It's running a single 6146, and it covers 160 all the way up to whatever. You name it, it does it. And it is just a really, really sweet little exciter. And if I was to ever want it to, I could always excite the system with a, another rig per se. But I like it with this here. It gives it the vintage look. And then below that you have the transmit and receive button. Both I have in my hand, which is a TR controller that are lit up. You just basically take your thumb and press on whichever button you want. And on the front panel as well, then you have the high voltage enabler switch in the middle. Below that, high voltage light on to the left, AC on the right. Below that, then you have the audio rack gear that it's in place and was set up professionally by Borgie himself. And I've taken several pictures of every control knob, and when anybody gets within 3 feet of it, I tell them, stop, there's a laser around that, protecting that jewel of the Nile. So, and then below that is circuit breakers, mini circuit breakers inserted into the panels, and a power switch. And it has a complete soft start, sees about 7 to 8 cycles. Half the voltage, brings everything up and then full tilt after that. So she's instant on as soon as you bring them on. I do like to let, because of the 6146, I do like to bring it on and leave it on for about 15 minutes and then come out and do the HV high voltage enabler switch. And then after that, it's a party. But like I said, it's like flying a Cessna 172 for the first time. You've got to get used to where your flaps are and how much fuel you got and the RPMs and the whole 9 yards. And you got to stick with it, stick to the book kind of thing. But once I've went to 160 and I've been on 40 with it as well. It's a lot of fun, but I prefer to leave it on the 3872 to 3885 band, and just kind of hang out there. Like I said, it won't be long. There will be another one sitting here for 160. So that way I'll have 2 Cadillacs, as they say, American-made Borgie, as I call them, Borgie-built transmitters. So again, K9VKV, he's on QRZ, and you can see a few of those babies there. And there's a picture of this one there before it was totally disassembled and brought here. And the middle Atlantic rack cabinet accents the whole thing. It's well ventilated, it's filtered, it has a safety door on the back that drops the high voltage just in case it's opened. You name it, it's got it. And again, it adds a lot of value to the transmitter. KC9VKV and 9GTO, back to you.
Roger, Roger. Sounds like a little traffic trying to come up in the background there. But I was just curious, have you had any anomalies, any unusual operational situations with it?
No, it's been a beautiful bird song from day one. I had one issue that I thought was an issue. Come to find out, took all the jumper cables and I put them under a load. I actually hooked the jumper cables up to a load and drawed a lot of current across them to see what was going on. And had some issues with jumpers. Once I replaced all the jumpers and reconfigured everything with the jumpers, high quality jumpers. I even made some jumpers out of 214 high-end coax to cover everything. So once I did that, everything came in here. Is there another station wishing to get in here? Come on back in here, N9GTO, go ahead.
Yeah, I know, you're speaking to the choir.
Station, your call again, please. I believe that's some New York traffic there, Jimmy. I don't think that pertains to us, but do believe that's some New York traffic. By the way, Jimmy, this thing is singing, and when I say singing, I mean singing. It the watt meter just sitting over there doing its natural. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. It is truly a plate modulated transmitter, and it shows on the bird meter. KC9VKV and 9GTO.
Roger, Roger. Now, speaking of that, what's your wattage operation? What's the idle wattage, and what's the forward and modulation?
Well, oh, bump something here right there. I always set it around 350, 375, and I modulate 1500. And it's just idling. It doesn't even know it's on. The 4-1000 is just sitting there. It's kind of like having a Max Wedge Hemi on nitrous, and it's just sitting there idling, waiting to pull up at the line. So all the horsepower is there. It's just it's just sitting there cruising. If anything, it's just a beautiful piece of history. Back to you, Jim.
Roger that, roger that. Just curious, you say that it was singing. Can you actually hear the modulation transformer?
No, I do not hear the transformer at all. When there's RF in the field, when Borgie was here and the antenna, believe it or not, the antenna was arcing on the end where it burnt up the antenna. It was arcing on the ends. When all that was cut away and I built a double bazooka out of RG11 and put a 3/8 to 1/4 inch aluminum tubing on the ends for the voltage, the 10-foot section on each end, and came in here and adjusted the SWR to a 1-to-1 here at 50 ohms for the transmitter at 3880. All the singing went away. I do not hear the transmitter, not at all. Again, the only thing that offends the modulation transformer is when there's negative feedback, peak negative of 98% or more. You get negatives in there, you get weird trash. All the audio gear right now is preventing the transformer. And again, I'm seeing 4 times the plate of carry resting current, the plate resting current there. I'm seeing 4 times PEP on the meter. I'm seeing everything just happy as can be. I'm not hearing any of that noise that I was hearing before, and that tells me that everything is in sweet tune. Really nice design. So, and the TR switches in several nanodes of a second delay. So when you unkey, it releases the receiver. When you key up, it mutes the receiver as far as the antenna system. It isolates it both center and ground, and then I'm able to hear myself through the receiver. So that's kind of about the way it is. Again, if there's any SWR issues, you will start hearing the plate modulation sing, and I don't like hearing that. So as soon as I start hearing that, I know that this thing is diving in negative peaks that it shouldn't be in. So right now I'm looking at about 94%, 93, 94% negative peaks and about 120 to 140% peak in positive. So I love those numbers. And KC9VKV and 9GTO.
Roger, roger. So it sounds like a beautiful transmitter there, and probably when you were saying it was singing, it was due to the fact that it wasn't loaded properly or loaded all the way out, and so it was too light a load to hold down the modulation transformer, I would think. But anyway, sounds really good, and we're going to be getting over there sometime in the next few days and actually shoot some video of it. So and we'll post that also. Roger, roger.
Roger, roger. Like I said, at Borgie's place in the shop, we noticed everything was 100% beautiful. Everything, couldn't be any better. And when it was brought here, there was definitely some antenna issues or some feed issues. And at the very end, before he left, because he was getting tired, and I was too, we were both due for a senior citizen nap. I got him to hook up a dummy load outside on a T. So we hooked up the dummy load. He said, "What's that going to do?" I said, "It's going to give us 50 ohms, and the rest of it will just radiate out there." And he was able to get into a conversation with a bunch of guys. Everybody said they sounded beautiful. They loved what they heard. And he looked at me and he says, "I believe you got it right. I think you got a real faulty antenna up there, and get that down and get it replaced." At which that very next day I did. And it's been singing right along. I mean, I got to admit, when I get on here, it is AM forum time right here with all the Good Time gang here. So I really look forward to it. And you sound good for being on a rice box, I must say. Go ahead. And 9GTO at KC9VKV.
Boy, oh boy, never can get out of a conversation without getting the old foot in the rear. Anyway, it's a good sounding transmitter for sure, and it's like an Iron Man in your radio room. This 7 and a half foot tall, 3.5 foot wide cabinet, 3.5 foot deep. I mean, it's the elephant in the room for sure.
Well, moved the mic a certain way, and it did what it's supposed to do. It's built with integrity. Borgie's middle name is Integrity, so it's absolutely unbelievable. Had one ham come over. Now this is what blew my mind. Had one ham come over, and he was wanting to relive his childhood situation, and boy, he was all upon me. He was going to hand me some cash and for me to let him come and get this thing. And I said, oh no, no. This is 50-something years in the making. I can't do that. There's no amount of money that's going to take this. It's not for sale. But yeah, he was really adamant. And so I said, I'll tell you what, you need your AM fix, just come on over here. I'll give you the key to the radio room. You can come out here and have all the fun you need. And so he played with it for a little bit on 40 one day. And I came out and switched it all back over to 80 and on this frequency here in this band, and I have had a lot of fun with it since. I enjoy it here. For some reason or other, I just like I like the idea of being able to, for something like this, 40 or 80 and 160 is more my style with this, and I'll do something else. But like I said, I'll get a different design. But there's just so much to be said about this. I believe the cabinet is 7 foot tall, and it's probably around 27 inches wide by 3 foot deep, and it has the back door and the air filtration system and the whole 9 yards. So, like I said, I'm very pleased to have it, and I could have never afforded anything like this in my lifetime. And a man made my dreams come true, so that was Borgie. So, and he's done that for a lot of amateur operators. He has really blessed a lot of people with his talent, I must say. They came all the way here, worked all day like you wouldn't believe, and treat you it's just unbelievable, all I can say. Now he's got that transmitter up there now that I'm in love with. Sent me pictures of it yesterday, and that's that one with the 833s and the final and the 304s and the modulator. And we'll post some pictures up on my QRs out of that one as well. So KC9VKV and 9GTO.
Roger, Lou. Well, we have enjoyed the QSO here, and like I said, we want to get over and actually get some video of the Queen of the Nile there so everybody can actually see it. We thought it was important to let everybody hear it, since it's that's its main function, is to be heard, and it sounds beautiful. So we'll say 3s for now, and we'll catch you in a few days and shoot some video over there. Roger.
Sounds good, Jim. Thank you. Yeah, her name is Patsy Klein, and she is large and in charge, as my wife says. Going to go out and spend some time with your girlfriend, aren't you? I said, oh, yeah. She said, well, tell Patsy I said hello. So 73s, Jim. Catch you on the other one if you need me. This is a 9GTO Indiana.
Roger. 3s over that way, Lou. Catch you later. It's KC9VKV.